I like this song.
Oh, it's great.
It's one of the first songs that Elvis did when he came out of the army.
I'm gonna stick like glue. Stick because I'm stuck on you.
Oh. You know, I never really, this was not one of my favorite songs.
The performance was great, though, right?
The performance was good. I thought the performance was great. I just was never one of my favorite songs. And I never had that many, obviously, of Elvis songs that I didn't care about because all of his songs were great. People ask me, what is my favorite Elvis song? I mean, no one sang ballads like he did, and every time I pick a song, there's another song that comes on. So I have to say, pretty much.
There's different eras in his life where
yeah,
you know.
And you have to remember too, we were so much a part of all the songs that he sang. We knew the moods he was in.
Yeah.
You know, we knew what he thought about them. We kind of lived those songs with him. But this one never really made that big of an impression. You know what it did do? It was a great showcase for Ronnie Tutt.
Oh,
you know,
absolutely.
You know, if there were songs that were, you know, that brought out or highlighted Elvis, would be Suspicious Minds. He did all his karate, you know, performances there.
In
the break.
And again, Ronnie accentuating
That's right.
it.
And Tiger Man. And the drums, Ronnie went crazy, and Elvis loved it. Isn't it funny when you listen to this? You can see him doing. I still remember every move he made in this song. You know you're driving on Pacific Coast Highway.
2,000 miles from Memphis.
Yeah.
Wow.
My father brought me here in 1963, and Elvis convinced my dad that I would go to Memphis and go to school in Memphis, and everything was taken care of, and I would be totally well chaperoned. My dad came out here to meet Elvis and to make sure everything was going to be on the up and up. We stayed at the Bel Air Sands, right close to Bel Air, and then the second day we came, he took us out for a nice tour of LA. And Pacific Coast Highway and around the beach area was one of the first places. And it was amazing. We had a day like this, and he was like a tour guide. You know, that's one thing he loved to do, is go out, you know, and show people all the sights around this area, not just here, but in Memphis too, places where he grew up. We went to all these places. So Elvis took us for a ride out in the car and took us all through LA.
Did you come to the ocean?
Yeah, we came here.
Oh, wow.
We have a lot of pictures from that, which I didn't remember having. My sister discovered them a few months ago. But we came down here. We went to Chinese Grauman Theater. We went to Hollywood Boulevard. We went, all through Bel Air.
Sunset?
Yeah, on Sunset Boulevard. He showed us homes of famous actors. He drove us around the gold Cadillac.
And then the car went on tour without Elvis. Remember? Is that amazing?
I hope so. That went on tour.
They took it all around the world.
Without Elvis? Can you imagine if he was in it?
A cardboard stand-up.
Elvis on tour.
We would have got a free vacation.
Elvis on tour. No, the lifestyle was definitely different out here, obviously. You know, I was captivated by all the sights and had a lot of energy here. And then to move back to Memphis, it was kind of everything came like to a standstill. Especially while Elvis was here, you know, making his movies. And I stayed in Memphis and literally, you know, spent a lot of time with Grandma. Got to meet her.
It was pretty dead at Graceland when Elvis wasn't there, wasn't it?
It wasn't. It was a totally different energy. We had 4 homes here. Perugia Way twice Elvis lived in. Bellagio Road.
Right.
And then Rocca Place, which I hated that house.
It wasn't too private, was it?
No. But Perugia Way, it wasn't one of the most beautiful houses, but it certainly was private, especially in the back area, not so much the front. But it's a whole new house now, unfortunately. Historical things happened here, as you know. We had the Beatles. This is where the Beatles came.
I never forget that night.
No, that was pretty historical. And, you know, I don't think we really appreciated it as much then, you know, as it turned out to be later in life.
Yeah, it was, it was that period where Elvis was looking for, his career. And here's the Beatles on the top. Remember? It was, I think it was a huge deal to the Beatles. I think we enjoyed it, don't you?
Oh yeah, definitely enjoyed it. I think what we enjoyed most about that historical night was how they all interacted with each other.
Yeah.
And how Elvis, pretty much ran the show. I mean, John and Paul, all of them were very humbled, very nice. I think that took us all by surprise.
Yeah. And Elvis was still his same self. He went in
Didn't
front
change.
of the piano,
Yeah.
playing the bass,
Yeah.
and music on, no sound on the TV.
No. He did what he did every single night. I mean, he didn't make any exceptions. I mean, he was just being Elvis. And that's what he did every night. That was when he was into playing the bass.
Right,
every single night. He'd take out his guitar and put on the music and play bass to it.
Paul McCartney told me later, he said, I knew I was in when I saw Elvis playing the bass.
Yeah, I'm sure. But it was a great little jam session. Even though that was a historical night, the intensity that was felt in that room, because I think one of the things that, as much as he liked what was happening, because he always felt there was room for everyone, whether it be Bob Dylan or like the Rolling Stones or, the Beatles, what he admired most was the fact that they had their freedom. They could sing the songs that, they wanted to sing. And he had that at one time, but he at this point in his life, his songs were not appreciated.
No.
His songs were not what he wanted to sing.
He was
and
not getting
he was putting his
material.
name on songs that weren't him.
Yes.
So he admired the Beatles for, I think, having that freedom to be able to do what they want, and the movies even that they want with Hard. Remember the Hard Day's
He
Night?
loved
Even
those.
loved.
We went to see him. He laughed.
Yellow Submarine.
Right.
So, in a way, it was kind of
Bittersweet.
bittersweet. Yeah, bittersweet. They even invited you guys over to their house, the house they rented, right?
I was walking out, and John Lennon said to me, Jerry, I know Elvis doesn't get out, but we're up on Benedict Canyon. I knew the house. Remember, Elvis almost rented that house. It had 6 bedrooms. I went up the next day on my motorcycle.
I know you did. I remember you did. You and a couple of the guys
And
went
I
up.
never will forget, though, John Lennon was so nice, and he was so personable, and he said, Jerry, will you do me a favor? And I said, sure. I mean, I was a Beatle fan. And he said, I didn't have the nerve to tell Elvis last night. He said, see these sideburns? I said, yeah. He said, I almost got kicked out of high school because I wanted to look like him. And without him, I would have been nothing.
Isn't it funny when you hear the stories about John Lennon and how he was pretty much a free spirit himself and had definite ideas about political issues and the turmoil that we were, living in at the time. He was so shy that night.
Yeah.
He was so shy. He wasn't
Does
really...
that tell the enormity of Elvis?
No, it definitely did.
Yeah.
Elvis was always being Elvis.
Yeah.
He wasn't trying to impress. He wasn't trying to be anyone else other than himself. I think that was, that was a big statement. And I think as he was so casual and approachable.
And I think Elvis recognized that quality in the Beatles as well, because you know what? They were pretty down to earth.
They were very down to earth. They had a British sense of humor, and
which Elvis loved.
which
right?
Elvis loved, right? That was a fun time.
You remember when you guys were moving into the Hillcrest house? Remember?
It was right after we got married, and I was pregnant.
That's right.
And while I was visiting Elvis and Stay Away Joe
In Arizona.
in Arizona,
Yeah.
I was going through the Variety, and there was an ad section there about a home in Truesdale Estates, and the way they described it was so beautiful. It was private. It was an unbelievable view of Los Angeles.
Boy.
I asked Elvis if I could go house hunting, because we were obviously,
Especially with the baby
with the baby coming along. That's right. So anyway, I went out, took a look at it, and loved it. It was totally furnished.
beautiful house.
It was beautiful. So he came right after we finished the movie to see the house, fell in love with it. I mean, literally, you could move in with a toothbrush.
Yeah.
Was it like a 180-degree view?
Oh.
It was unbelievable. No, we felt like we had a home.
Right.
It was our first home, and now it was more couples.
And this is the first home you guys bought in California,
It's
right?
the very first house we bought. We leased
All the other ones
all
were
the other
leased.
homes.
And I remember seeing Lisa at the Hillcrest house with Snoopy and Brutus, and they were
yeah.
taller than she was.
I know, almost taller than me.
Yeah, well, that's understandable. When was Monteville? When did you find that?
Monteville was about 60, I would say 60, no, maybe 70, 69, 70.
69, 70.
That was a great house. That was my dream house. 3 acres of land and just so private it suited Elvis.
Neil
It really
Diamond
did.
was our next door neighbor.
Yeah.
We never saw him.
We never saw Elvis either. It was so guarded. It was just beautiful. It had orange groves. Monteville was the best house. All the memories pop up, and you know, you have good ones and you have bad ones, but it's certainly each house had its stage,
Mm-hmm.
and you can remember everything that was involved. Well, here's CBS. The famous night that Elvis was on the Ed Sullivan Show. This was obviously before my time here in Los Angeles, but
Did you watch it?
well, between the cracks of the door. Yes.
Why the cracks of the door?
I was one of those teenagers that weren't allowed to see it. You know, it was a big to-do about Elvis being on television at that time. There were all kinds of reactions from, you know, the way that he moved with his music. You know, that was a part of him through his own music and his own roots.
Right.
And people misconstrued that whole Elvis aura and energy into, it was too seductive. It was
So
going to be a
your
whole new
parents didn't think you
generation.
should see it?
No, my parents were one of the ones too
Sure.
who didn't want me to see him. They didn't know what to expect. It's so hard now to look back at that.
I know.
I mean, what they're singing today and what they're doing today, it's just a far cry and a long way from where we were.
Yeah, he used to say we were babies compared to what people are doing now.
Oh,
you know, when
yeah.
the new groups came out and stuff. And it was true.
Yeah. I think people overreacted. I don't think people knew what to do with him.
Mm-mm.
They really didn't. It's like we have to go to MGM.
We spent a lot of time at this studio.
He did, I know.
Yeah.
You know, I really didn't spend that much time here. You know, Elvis definitely had to have that freedom
Right.
to, you know, do what he did best. And,
Well, it's like bringing your wife to work. You just don't do it.
you know, I did come a couple of times. And one of them, when Hair and Scare him, I dyed his hair.
You dyed his hair?
Yeah, he didn't like the color of his hair, so obviously I was always the first one to say, I can do it. So I went to the drugstore and I got black dye. It looked pretty easy to me, right?
Yeah.
So you go and get your black dye, and I got brushes, you know, so I could, you know, brush it on. And I went to
Yeah.
the studio with a bag. I mean, I took it very seriously. I've got a black bag, and I had a towel and brushes and the black dye. And here I come in like a real professional. I mean, I took it quite
Now
seriously.
I know why he wore the turban.
You know what? You might
I thought
be
it was
right.
an image. He was trying to cover up that
You
hair.
might be right.